Hi. So I rented a movie from a video store. Look at this. Oh God, did I just blind you? Sorry. An actual DVD from a video rental store. This DVD does not have art on it, so you can't tell what it is. But if I turn it this way, it's upside down. Turn it this way. Yes. Okay. It says Zorba. Because I rented Zorba the Greek, which for some reason I thought was a comedy, but it is not a comedy, and it wasn't what I was expecting. So maybe I might have liked it more if, one, I had known it wasn't a comedy, and two, I wasn't in the mood for a comedy, because then I watched a 2.5 hour drama instead, and that's really long. It's written and directed and produced by Michael Cacoyannis, who made several Greek films throughout the 40s and 50s, and was nominated for like tons of awards at the Cannes Film Festival. It's based on a book by Nikos Kazantzakis, and it stars everyone's favorite not actual Greek person, Anthony Quinn. Anthony Quinn's actually from Mexico, if I remember correctly. Yes. Anthony Quinn's real name being Antonio Rodolfo Quinn Oaxaca. Oaxaca. I can't pronounce that. Anyways, I always think he's Greek because I know he's really famous for this film that was just hugely popular in the 60s, and he also played Zeus in Hercules. So I just thought he was Greek, and then my parents were always like, he is not Greek. He is from Mexico, and I'm like, oh, well, he's very convincing as a Greek person. This film was a huge success when it was released, made like $1 bajillion. Oh God, the director also edited it. This guy really did everything. So it's about a man named Zorba who befriends a British Greek person who's come to work on the land that his father, who was Greek, owned. But he's like your average sort of buttoned up British writer person, played by a non-bearded Alan Bates, which I found very strange. And they decide to go together because Zorba has some skills that the British man needs, and they become friends in a very like bro friends kind of way. And as they go about their business, they also befriend a woman who may or may not be a courtesan. She's definitely French. What she's doing on Crete, who knows? She's just, that's where she's living, and she's got this, and she's older now, so she doesn't really have any men in her life at this point, till Zorba comes in. And that character was played by the actress Layla Kadyrova, who was French-Russian, and she won an Oscar for this performance. And while I can see that she was great in it, I was sort of not a fan of the role because it's that sort of stereotyped aging beautiful woman who's just a mess that men laugh at this point. And I find that just repulsive, kind of. Not that the woman is repulsive, but that's sort of the only sort of, it's just such a stupid trope, and that even women aging who are susceptible to this judgment of their beauty are more complex than she's presented as being. And even Miss Havisham, like the originator of this trope practically, is more complicated than this character was allowed to be. So that was sort of a bummer. The British guy, for some unknown reason, has caught the eye of a relatively young widow who refuses to let any of the dudes mac on her, played by Irene Papas, and some really sad shit goes down when they finally get together. And what's depressing there is that this woman, you have Irene Papas in your movie, and she like gets like 3 scenes. It's all super male gazy, except for when she's staring at you, and there's this one shot of her like staring everyone down that is so much better than everything else in the movie. And I'm like, that's the movie. That should be 2.5 hours of Irene Papas staring at you, and I'd be happier. So her character gets nothing. You don't know anything about her, which I guess is supposed to be the point, but like, I don't give a shit. I want to know about these women. I want them to be complex. I don't want them to just be footnotes in like the story of two dudes. And that's my main problem with this movie, I guess, is I just don't have the energy for movies that are 2.5 hours of just dudes being dudes and being shits to women and women dying, because spoiler alert, all the women die in this movie. And they all die violently and kind of horribly, and you're supposed to think that Zorba's this great dude, but like they tell you early on that he's abandoned his family, and it's like, okay, I'm supposed to relate to this guy because he like has abandoned his family to go be free. Like, what? And I just, oh, my nose itches. I'm sorry. I didn't hate the movie. I know I'm sounding like I hated this movie. I enjoyed it, but I also didn't enjoy it because I'm fucking sick of movies that are so male centric, and that's part of why I stopped watching movies that were directed by men, because there's so many of these movies that are just, they waste their female characters, and they're canon, right? And it's like, no one, you read stories about them and nobody is calling out the fact that all these canonical films treat their women like shit. And we're moving into this era where there were just tons of wasted talent in women, because at least in the, you know, the 30s, 40s, 50s, they really there were film roles for women, and there were the women's films and there were the men's films, and even the women in the men's films for the most part were pretty good. And then somehow you can start getting into the 60s and you have a handful of complicated women and then a bunch of wasted women, and this is just a really brilliant case of wasted women. I find it hard to care about films that waste their women, because I want everyone to be fully complex, amazing humans and not just Zorba, you know? So that's where I'm at with this movie. I rented it, as I said, so you can rent it. You might be able to rent it online, I'm not sure. You'll probably like it more than I did, but not that I didn't like it, because I liked it. I just didn't like that aspect of it. It's a beautifully made film. It's from 1964, Zorba the Greek.